And we have Art LaFlamme with us today, talking all about Veterans Day to a group of fourth graders. Fourth graders, will you say hello one more time? Hi. All right, we're going to turn it over to Mr. LaFlamme. Everybody is very excited to hear you talk today, so we're looking forward to it. It's all yours.
Hear me talk. You guys are supposed to be talking to me. I thought that was how this worked. Oh. No? Okay.
All right.
So, what do you guys want to talk about?
Well,
so I retired from the Army just this year. I finished 20 years in the Army. And when we talk about veterans, we talk about anybody who's in the Army or in the military, which is Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guards, and Merchant Marines too, and anybody who was. So that's like a lot of people. That's like a whole lot of people. Like they're everywhere. They're kind of like zombies. They're like all over the place. They're walking amongst you and you probably don't even realize how many of them are there. So I did it for like almost 20 years. I did it for 19 years, 7 months, and 28 days, which is like a long time. I did it after I finished college and had worked for a couple of years and decided that really what I wanted to do was go spy on people for a living. And that's the great thing to do in the military, if you really want to know the truth. I also wanted to jump out of airplanes, and you don't get to do that in most jobs. So that was sort of one of the things that kind of led me to realize that the military would be a good fit. Jumping out of airplanes was kind of a fun thing to do for a living. So I had this sweet girlfriend at the time, and we got married, and I joined the Army, and we ran away, and we went and lived in Europe for a long time. We lived in Germany in 3 different cities for about 12 years and traveled like all over Europe. England and France and Belgium and Luxembourg and the Czech Republic. And we went to Egypt and we went to Turkey and we went like everywhere, all over Europe. Planes, trains, and automobiles. It was great because the Army had me living there. And in the Army, I kind of worked everywhere. I spent a lot of time traveling around Eastern Europe. So I went to places like countries like Hungary and Croatia. I lived in places like Bosnia, Herzegovina. I went to countries like Turkey and Iraq. I traveled to all the way to places like Korea and China and Hong Kong. Traveled and traveled and traveled and traveled, which was really nice because I really like traveling. And then I spent some time fighting in the war, which was not as much fun because that's a little bit more tense, a little bit more risky, I guess would be the way to phrase it. And then this last year I retired and we moved to Portland, Oregon. Along the way, my wife and I kept doing the things that we love the most. My wife's an artist. She makes quilts and lots of things with fabric. I'm an avid photographer and I'm an avid car guy. I've got a sweet little race car that I've been hauling around with me for about 10 years now. So I like to go to the racetrack with my car. Mrs. Graham suggested that I should probably show you guys some of the cool things that I've collected along the way, or some of the things that I like to haul with me. If I can figure out this camera thing, I'll show you guys some of them. All right, so any baseball fans in the crowd? Anybody? Yeah. So, like in 1996, I went to the country of Bosnia-Herzegovina, and the Los Angeles Dodgers heard I was there. So they sent me stuff to include a blue baseball. And I took this thing with me everywhere. On like every trip I went to, every country, the 4 times I went to Iraq, everywhere. If you notice, it's like nice and smooth. You can see it's all nice and shiny, because all I would do is I would sit there and go like this whenever things got really tense and really stressful. I brought my Dodgers baseball with me. So kind of a weird little souvenir, but it was really cool that the Dodgers took care of me and brought me this nice baseball. I've got an American flag that I've been hauling around forever. And if you read the label, I think you guys can probably read that. Babs is a friend of mine, and she is a pilot. She flies A-10s, which is a fighter aircraft. And she took this up in her plane for me back in 2003 when the war in Iraq was just getting started. And this is literally how she did it. She wrapped it in plastic, folded it up, and stuck it underneath her seat, and took it with me, or took it with her. And then when she was done, she came back and said, "Hey, I took this with me when I went and flew combat, because I had told her where the bad guys was." So she went with it. And I've been hauling this thing with me. I haven't even bothered to unpack it. I still have the Post-it note right on top, hauling that with me the whole time. And then here, I'll show you guys this other funny little thing I've got. If you've got friends or family that are in the military or veterans, a lot of them are going to have all kinds of coins, big giant coins. I'll pour some of these out. They come in all different kinds of shapes and sizes. So like here's a really funny shaped one. It's shaped like a taro leaf out of Hawaii. This was given me by a 2-star general when I was in Iraq. And they're just different ones that different commanders. So this was given me by the chief of staff, or the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of the whole armed forces. I got another one that's over here that's actually shaped like a surfboard. If you look real closely, you can actually see it's got a bite missing out of the back of it. I think there's all kinds of different shapes and goofy ones different people have given me over the years. I'm not a very fancy person. I keep mine in a mason jar. But some people have big fancy collections and stuff that goes with them. And then the other piece, uh-oh, I lost my screen. There it is. The other thing I wanted to show you guys was some of the stuff I've been hauling around over the years. I can't get my uniform to stay up. Is the types of uniforms I've had with me over the years. These are ones that I wore early in my career. This one over here is from the early days. It's a real, it looks more like cookie than anything else. It's a desert tan colored one. And then this is one that we wore more recently. It looks like it's a digital pattern, because it really is digital. And these are just like everyday, get dirty, real utility kind of play clothes. And then I've got the fancy ones that we wear when we get all dressed up, which is much more like a tuxedo. So that's what mine looked like. And when you compare that with what my grandfather wore, which is his here from World War II, his is much simpler. with his tan. Mine looks much more like a business suit, I think. But anyway.
Art, is the one jacket with the camouflage, is that the one that's in your picture? Your Twitter picture?
No, that's a whole third different one. That's a green one that looks like trees and regular woodlands.
Okay, with that hood and everything.
Yep. Yep. I have a couple of other uniforms too that I have collected over the years. We keep changing uniforms for some reason. So these are only a couple of the ones that I've collected. It seems like every time I turn around, they're giving me new outfits to wear. But they have lots of different ones. So like the Marines have a digital one that was kind of like this, but then the Navy wears one that's like a blue and a black camouflage pattern because they're out on the water and they don't need to look like a tree when you're out in the middle of an ocean. So not many trees out there. Anyway, so that's a little bit about the types of stuff that I did when I was in the military. And that's some of the trinkets and stuff that I've been collecting over the years. I guess what kinds of questions do you guys have for me?
You guys have some. Okay, so remember, we'll do it one at a time.
Did you go in the water for training?
Did I go in the water?
Yeah.
Like on a boat?
No. My mom said that they laid down in the water so they don't freeze when they.
Oh, maybe kind of crawling through the water?
Yeah.
Did you have to do any water training at all?
I sure did. Absolutely. Yeah. And I had to do yeah, I sure did. In fact, I got up really early this morning and was outside and it was raining crazy this morning. And I was thinking about that because when I went through that type of training, it was in the winter and it was so cold, I really thought I was going to freeze. I absolutely remember doing that. Yep. Yep. And then we used to do twice. I went and did whole obstacle courses that were water obstacle courses, where everything we did was about. You guys remember playing the game, the floor is lava? Yeah. They had whole obstacle courses that were like that, with water, and so you'd have to like move over whole things where you just tried to stay dry. So yeah.
All right, here comes the next question. You can go ahead.
Did you ever get a grenade thrown at you?
No, I did throw grenades at people and things though. Grenades are pretty, well, no, I take that back. I did have grenades thrown at me. They're really loud too. And somewhere around here, I've got the little pin that goes in them. Yeah.
Have you ever ridden in a Humvee before?
I have. I had my own Humvee for a couple of years. I drove them too. There's different types of Humvees.
Yep.
There's some of them have armor on them to help make them like bullet resistant or, stop things from getting inside. And then some of them have like square backs and some of them look more like a bug because they've got like a slant back to them. And then some of them have like a turret on top as well. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've driven them and I've ridden in them a lot. Yeah. Have you?
No.
Oh. Well, sometimes like the National Guard will come out and do events at schools and stuff like that, and they'll bring one along.
Have you ever gotten hurt? Like
I have. In fact, that's kind of a funny question because I was just thinking about one time about 12 years ago when I was in a Humvee and we got into a car wreck and I got hurt pretty bad. Well, not like really, really bad, but I got banged up pretty good.
But you're getting
Yeah.
better, right?
Yeah.
Little by little.
Yeah.
Here,
during
hold on, so we can see it. There you go.
during training, did you have to fight under the water?
Under the water. No. I never did like scuba work or anything like that. It's funny, the Army actually does have people that do scuba training. And then I don't know if you know this, but the Navy has dolphins too as part of their thing where they help protect seaports. So if you go in the Navy, you could end up working with dolphins, which is kind of cool.
Have you ever broken a bone during Army?
Oh, yes. Yes, I've broken bones. I've broken fingers. I broke my hip one time. I've banged up my head a bunch of times. I'm trying to think what else I've broken. Oh, I broke my hand. Yeah, I've broken a few bones over the years. Playing Army is actually kind of a rough sport. There's a lot of metal involved.
For training, did you have to get your hands and your feet tied up and jump in water and like try to underwater?
I think no, there was nothing where we did like Houdini escapes kind of stuff, but we did do like jumps off of towers when we were fully loaded down with all of our gear. And then once we got into the water, we had to get out of all of our equipment so that we could swim to the surface. And that's kind of actually an important thing because that realistically does happen like too often.
Just a couple more questions. You doing okay time-wise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a couple more questions.
I'm here all day.
Have you ever shot someone?
Ooh, tough question. Shot at people. I don't think I've actually shot them. I've dropped bombs on people. I certainly dropped bombs on people. One of the things that I did during the invasion of Iraq in 2003 was I worked with the Air Force on finding all of the Iraqi tanks and artillery. I spent a lot of my time doing that. So helping the Air Force figure out where to go drop bombs.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Have you ever drove in a tank?
I have. Tanks are awesome. I spent some time working as a loader. Our tanks have 3 people as the crew. They have one person that drives it. They have one person who thinks that they're in charge. They call themselves the tank commander. They usually like work the radio and they have a map. And then they have a third person who's the loader who puts the ammunition into the main gun because that's really, really heavy. And I spent some time working as a loader in the tank. It's kind of like in the 3 jobs, it's like the bottom job, but it's pretty cool. I liked it. It's where all the action happens. When the main gun goes off, you're like right there. It's pretty cool.
What type of guns did you use?
Oh boy. How much do you know about them?
Um,
A little bit or a lot? So
kind of.
pistols, I used 9 millimeters, and there's a couple different kinds that we have in our inventory. Rifles, I used the M16s and the M4s, which are the ones that are commonly used. For a little while, when I was a lieutenant, we also had the old M3 grease guns, which is like from World War II era stuff. And then I used light machine guns and heavy machine guns, so like M249s and M2s, which are big heavy machine guns, and then grenade launchers, and even grenade machine guns. Um, boy, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, Mark 19s as well. So a little bit of everything.
Okay.
What was the gun that you used the most?
So most of my time was spent with the M4, but I spent a lot of time with that and also with the 9 millimeter pistol. I gotta say, I think I much preferred the M4, but it just sort of depended what I was doing, I guess. They're pretty good stuff.
Have you ever had an army dog?
I did not. No. I worked with them a lot. There's different kinds of them. There are some that are like attack dogs. There are some that are detection dogs, so they'll get trained to detect different types of substances or chemicals. But I never was like a dog handler, but often went on trips and stuff where we had them with us as part of our team. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, the funny thing is, often those dogs will retire and they'll stay in the army, and then they just become like regular dogs, and they and their handlers then run around and hang out with everybody else, which is awesome because you'll go someplace and then here comes just a dog who's just coming to hang out. So those were kind of my favorite dogs, just kind of the hangout dogs.
Can you talk a little bit about like what it's been like for your kids to have a parent that's been in the military?
Oh, sure. So I tended to just sort of drop out of their lives for a while, and they'd see me on Skype or they'd see me on Google Hangout, and we would talk like once a week. And they would continue on with their lives and have, all the regular things going on, but I'd just sort of drift in and out, and my wife carried on and kept everything else going on. We lived in military communities, with everybody else, so there was lots of families going through the same thing at the same time. Other kids, that they went to school with and did taekwondo with and gymnastics and stuff that were going through similar experiences, but we'd write letters and we'd write emails and we'd talk like this, as much as we could, but I could be gone for 3 months, 6 months, or a year at a time, which is kind of a long time when you're a kid to have a parent gone like that. And in between going to places like Iraq or the Middle East, I tended to have a lot of business trips for training or other things that the Army needed me to do. And so we got to be pretty good. We spent a lot of time practicing and working on how to stay in touch and do things when we were together, to try to keep close, but then how to talk and be together even when we weren't together. So talking about what's going on in school, talking about what's going on in their classes, what's going on with their friends. We did a lot of that even when I was away from them and off somewhere else doing something else. Because just because I wasn't actually there, we'd work hard to try to make sure that we were talking about everything that was going on.
Before I click on the stop broadcast, I want all the fourth graders to say thank you.
You're certainly welcome.
I want to say thank you and thank you for your service. And now I'm going to stop the broadcast, but then we can still talk for a minute.
Yeah.